Me too. When you started Hollywood Unlocked, like what were your goals? Like, did you envision what it is today, this mega giant, or you just were like, let's take it one step at a time?
I literally, this is gonna sound so crazy. So I just started working on courses on how to build a successful podcast and how to build a successful blog. It sounds so simple, but I'm literally gonna be selling millions of dollars of lessons and knowledge that I built through making mistakes and just doing the work. When I started Hollywood Unlocked, I was literally just throwing everything at the wall, and whatever stuck, I kept doing that. And then when it didn't stick anymore, I went and pivoted and did something else. And so I learned to how to navigate through the space. I mean, ultimately, when I first did it, I got with a friend of mine who's he's in the VC world, and I said, "Look, I'm going to build this thing, and ultimately, I want a 9-figure exit. So help me build out what this exit can look like. What are all the extensions? What are all the different points of revenue? And then I decided to put my face to it because I felt like I'm the one that's going to draw on all the people. So I got to figure it out. And then I just slowly have started figuring it out. And so now we're getting into products. Soon we'll get into subscription-based content. And then, we have other deals on the table. Where we're looking to expand in radio, and I have another book I'm writing and the courses. So it's just one of those things where just trial and error and just figuring it out along the way, and a lot of luck.
Was there one big thing or one big story or one big moment where you could say, okay, we had 200 followers, now we have 2 million? Like, was there one thing that kind of changed the course for you?
Course, the Jordyn Woods and Tristan Thompson story was the massive thing that, and trust me, when you get that, you're always looking for those again. We have had stories like we just broke that Ray J was in the hospital with pneumonia, and then TMZ tried to take that. I mean, we still break stories, but that was, I think, just a colossal story because of all the parties that were involved. So yeah, that was definitely something that put Hollywood Unlocked on the map.
And then I know from that story, like I mean, I read this because you say I did my research. I don't know if this is true. Like you actually called like Khloé and Chris and the family and said, like, heads up, I'm running the story.
Yeah, and there's another. Yeah, I did, and we ran it, and we ran it after we were able to have those conversations. But me and Chris, I've known Chris Jenner for 11 years now, and last week I had to have a call with her because she heard that I was breaking the story on Kim, and she called me to basically say how disappointed she was. But like I explained to her, the Kardashians, although I have had a personal relationship with Rob and Chris, we don't have a relationship when it comes to the work. And so I'm able to separate my work from my relationship. Some people are not able to. And me and Chris were kind of going back on text, and I was explaining to her that I'm not afraid of the Kardashians. I'm not afraid of anybody when it comes to doing my job. And in fact, I told her that one day you're going to run into the wrong person who doesn't care, and my name is the wrong person. So let's not have this exchange, Chris. I have a job to do. If you want to work with me and be a partner in sharing information, then we can work together. But they don't partner with media outside of E and those and TMZ that I'm aware of, because they really feel like they don't have to and that they can cancel people. But unfortunately, when you own your own company, as long as you're following the rules and you're being very tedious to those rules, and respectful and fair, what can you sue? You can't do anything.
No, I feel, listen, on a much smaller scale, I'm not, but I am in that situation all the time where like I'll have someone on and, whatever. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to have your arch enemy on tomorrow. Like, this is my job. Like, I don't know what you want from me. So I could imagine you would face that a lot. Well, I
Yes.
mean, didn't you like at that time give them the heads up and then they kind of were thrilled and then they kind of immediately turned their backs on you anyway, once the story took like a bunch of different turns?
Well, they didn't turn their back on me until they were done using me. And what I explained to Chris was, which I think she had a hard time accepting, she really wanted me to come to her and talk to her and be fair, was she put people in place to manage these type of relationships, and they may not be aware of me and Chris's relationship, but the fact that I feel like they used me and gaslit me the whole way through and used Hollywood Unlocked really as a vehicle to attack Jordyn Woods, and me dumb in a dumb way, just being very blind to that, just really being, authentically and organically accepting of this relationship I thought was developing on the business side. I played the part. And so, yeah, that's the one thing I do regret. And I told Chris that. So Chris now said, this is an open line between you and I. Come to me directly. Okay, well, I'll come to you directly. And I have with this other story that I'm still planning to break. I just have to make sure all the legal parameters are there before I do it, because she's already kind of inferred that she's going to take action if I do. So
which I imagine you get a lot of from a lot of different people.
all the time.
That's what I would imagine. When you were initially going down this road with like Chris and like the Kardashians and like you regret it with Jordyn, what that was just, I mean, that's just business, right? Like you're like, this could be a great relationship and we're building the site. Like I'm not giving you shade. I'm just saying, like, is that the thought process behind it?
The thought was I broke the story and knew that I wouldn't get a response from Jordyn, but I did get a response from Khloé directly. And I was texting and talking with Khloé every day as it was growing. Every time I responded to it or said my opinion about it, she commented directly about it to me. And I think in many ways, her and her team led me into information that I then shared, but of course didn't go back and say it came from them. And it was information that I think ultimately harmed Jordyn. But when I take a step out of the emotion, because I'm not emotionally tied to none of this shit, but when I look at Jordyn Woods, I mean, this has been the biggest blessing of her life. This pushed her out of their shadow into her own spotlight. She's beautiful. She's amazing. She looks like she's living a very vibrant life. She has an amazing boyfriend who really loves her. She has her own brand deals, acting. I mean, I'm not saying that I should get credit for that, but I do believe that as painful as it probably was for her and her family to go through with it, that it was in many ways a blessing in disguise.
That makes a lot of sense. Are like in today's day and age, like are the Kardashians or like anything surrounding them? Like I interviewed Blac Chyna, you guys covered that recently, so thank you for that coverage. But like, am I hyping them up too much? Like who are the most clickable, or like are there certain people you just know the public just can't get enough of? I mean, is it the Kardashians or is that just in my own crazy head?
I mean, I think the Kardashians are they're easily consumable but hard to digest, right? I mean, I think there's like a love and hate relationship. People love them because they're a bunch of beautiful women, sisterhood, the family, all that. We've watched them for I don't know, but 20 years now on television. We've seen Kylie grow into so many different people, their kids. Now we're gonna have keeping up with the Kardashian children. Like there's the Kanye West. It's just a nonstop storyline. So in one sense, we can't get enough of them. But then on the other hand, we're tired of them. They have been in our face too much. There's things that they get away with that Black women could never get away with. There's stuff that they do and claim that they created that we know came from the Black culture that people are just not really easily able to digest. And so I don't know. It's a love-hate thing. I think if there's anybody else, I think that people really love Cardi B. She's somebody that every time we post, they love her. But I don't know now that there's anybody that with social media today being that it is, there's the paparazzis aren't really following anybody else like that anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of changed the game. What, and this is the last question about the Kardashians, I promise, what are things that they get away with that they wouldn't if they were Black women?
I think definitely as sexual as they are with as many men that they've been with as many women's men that they've been with, I think that there's a lot of things that they've gotten a lot of passes for because it's just a Kardashian that I don't think a regular woman would be able to, especially a woman of color. I also think a lot of the opportunities they get, we can say marketing or whatever, but I don't know any woman of color whose sex tape made them a, multi-million-dollar woman. And just remember, like this this entire brand is a springboard of a sex tape. And I just don't know any other person that's done that.
That's true. Although I guess you could say Paris Hilton.
But Paris Hilton comes from money. She comes from wealth. I mean, the Kardashians wealthy. They had relationships and they were kind of in the mix and they had money, but they didn't have wealth.